Okay. I would definitely be using the HCl as my base nutrient. If you notice certain foods having reactivities to where, you know, like every time you eat salad or every time you have grains or meat or oil or whatever, then a lot of times that's where you're going to need this specific material.
All around.
So HCl is the universal digestive enzyme. So the idea is if you're really looking to boost the body, then that's kind of the way to be doing that, and just getting used to your particular eating regimen on the number of capsules you use each time. That's funny. All right. Everyone having a week?
Yep.
Moving from rain back to hot, sunshine.
Yeah,
rain
you.
again.
Yeah.
Nice and interesting and fun.
Comedy.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, let's cut the music in. Thank you, sir. So there is a wonderful little personal kind of quiz regarding some information that I'm hoping you're carrying around with you, like I do, regarding hormones and health and all that great operation on page 3. So feel free to flip over and take a look at page 3 there. There's some great kind of starter questions for anybody who's coming in here to kind of get you thinking a little bit as we go through the rest of tonight's topic regarding hormones and how they make it happen. So if you'll take just a couple minutes and fill in a few of the answers to those questions, we're going to talk about them here in just about 5 minutes when we get into working on everything else that we're going to talk about today. 5. You know one? Write down your one.
Thank you.
Oh, clipboard? Yeah, I know. We have a couple more clipboards if you need a clipboard. That's right. We're here to learn. We're here to bring in all this good information, great health. I'd like to welcome everybody this evening to Raw Revelations. My name is Joseph Montgomery. I'm Health Coach Joe, here with Thoughtful Thursday, our wonderful Thursday presentation on different health topics, wellness activation, getting people into their optimum nutrition, understanding the human body so we can learn how to better take care of this beautiful temple we've been given. So we really want people to catch us online. If you're joining us through Periscope or through Ustream, thank you very much. If you have any questions or would love to get even the handouts for tonight's talk, feel free to email me at joseph@rrsuperfoods.com. So that's Joseph, JOSEPH, at rrsuperfoods, that's plural.com, and you can find all of the great products we're going to talk about in our speech this evening on rawrevelations.com. So that's a great place to go to in order to find your particular health products. Great amount of wonderful superfood nutrition, some of the best available material on planet Earth. And it's definitely something that I would love for everyone to get over there and try that out. So tonight we're going to focus solely on hormones. This is a great introduction for a lot of people because we have a lot of hormone issues, but we have no idea what hormones are, how they work, what they do, how to help them. So this is a really good learning class for a lot of people. And as always, I apologize that I love to try to get 4 hours worth of information done in 1 hour's worth of time. So feel free to let me know if I'm moving too quickly or you're trying to take notes or you have a question. I really want this to sink in for you as being good, useful information. You are my wonderful people showing up each week, catching us online, to be able to go and have conversations with other people who have maybe even more questions or need more help. And I'd love for you to be that person, that point of contact, and feeling confident that you're actually able to help somebody just think that there's another option, another way. We're going to talk a lot about pharmaceuticals. We're going to talk a lot about the environment tonight. Hormones in this discussion is definitely one of those where I really want people to see why and how they make it happen. So let's begin this evening, as we do every Thursday, with our 1-minute meditation, and we'll get our conscious breathing exercise out of the way. For everybody who's new or catching us online, the idea is we're going to go through a series of very functional breathing exercises. We're going to take a very long inhalation, 7 seconds of breathing in, holding at the top of that, 8 seconds of breathing out to the point where you have no air left in the lungs, and then 7 seconds of breath in, 8 seconds of breath out. That's 30 seconds, and then 30 seconds of space, just easy, empty time so we can relax, get away from all the stuff we were doing from our 9 to 5, and get into our amazing 6 to 7, because 6 to 7 is a great time for everybody to be having. So we really do enjoy for you to come in and learn something. It's a great way to relax for a few seconds and get into the rest of tonight's discussion. So if you'll follow along with me, focus on the actual diaphragm underneath the rib cage. Really big breath in for 7 seconds. You're holding for a couple seconds there, and then 8 seconds of breath out. Nice long exhalation all the way down to nothing, and then 7 seconds of breath in. And holding for a couple seconds, and 8 seconds of breath out. Just 30 seconds of normal breathing. And nice, peaceful quiet. Phenomenal. Thank you so much for spending that time. And again, after our conscious breathing, this is where I love to bring up the concept of the mindset change for the week. The big concept here about reprogramming. Hormones are the fastest physical responsive unit that we actually have in our human body. A lot of people love to think nerves, but it takes a while for nerves to send information. I give you this whole wonderful exercise of touch your nose. Oh, see, that's how long it took your nerves to figure out that when something happens, you get to do something in a response. If I was, on the other hand, going to do something that you might consider very mean and cruel, but it's one of those that really shows the reaction, the idea is you respond to the noise faster than a lot of times you even hear the noise. You know it's going to come, and you already tense up. Or you know something's going to get you into a fear mode or angry or something. That's how fast hormones work. They are the actual things that control a lot of our, what we understand to be emotions. We say the words, don't be so hormonal. It's not a nice thing. You should be kind, Ed, to the people who love you the most. But it is definitely one of these great ways of understanding that this is what we're talking about today. And we're going to get a little more physical with it because I think it's really amazing for people to see what it is that actually does and makes up the parts of their body and how to start to improve them to get towards optimum wellness. That's what we're really working for here each week, each Thursday with these individual classes as we have our discussions. So on page 3, everybody was filling out a few of the particular answers to some of their prompt questions in order to see what we might know as of this moment. And this is going to help us learn where we can actually pick up some new information in order to actually really decide how this class is going to be, promoting for you and for other people that you might know. So I'd love for people just to kind of state out here just a couple quick examples of an actual hormone that's in your body. You said you had one.
Estrogen.
Estrogen. Okay, fantastic. That's a good hormone. So estrogen's there. That's doing its job. Anybody else have another hormone?
Progesterone.
Progesterone is another piece of that one. Yeah, okay.
Testosterone.
Testosterone. Okay, so everybody here is really good with the sex characteristic hormones. Okay, so I'm glad you paid attention during that part of the actual class during high school. Now, let's look at some of the other hormones that are inside our bodies. Some things you may not know.
Thyroid.
Thyroid.
Okay, cortisol.
Cortisol is a hormone. That's correct. A lot of people are hearing a little bit more about cortisol. Anybody else? There's one really big one that I love for people to understand of what it does and how it works, and it's so important about our health.
Insulin. Insulin.
Very good. The Krispy Kreme hormone. That's what that one is. It's the Krispy Kreme hormone. So this is, again, insulin's a hormone. It's very funny to me when I talk to people about their diabetic control, and they have no idea they're taking hormones in order to actually put that pill in their mouth as a diabetic in order to actually regulate the production of the hormone by the pancreas, which is called insulin. So some of the other ones that's interesting for us that we love to know and hear, and we do catch that they are something, but maybe we didn't get that they were in the hormone classification, is adrenaline. It's a really, really amazing one that actually does some wonderful things for people who want to be extremely strong, but it's also the thing that's causing most of our fatigue. And it's the fact that we are over-adrenalized that we're actually having so many difficulties in life when it comes to stress levels, staying awake and alert, just being generally body fatigued. Adrenaline's fantastic in moments and for bursting, but it's very, very hard on the body if we're getting it all the time. So adrenaline's a very wonderful hormone for us to kind of understand how to go through life and how to regulate things like that. The adrenals are the place that actually produce a lot of this material. Gay had mentioned the idea of the thyroid. Again, thyroid stimulating hormone. It's a very important one.
I know sometimes I have too much fight or flight.
Fight or flight response, that's the adrenaline complex. So the other things that we always hear about that sometimes we realize that they're a hormone or not is melatonin is actually the sleep hormone, and serotonin is the happy hormone. And the even happier hormone is dopamine, which is a great one for us to actually start to learn how to boost inside our bodies as well. There are a very wide array of hormones. We've actually got on page 2 a beautiful sequence here of all of these different materials that are being produced. And some hormones are secreted by a particular organ. Pancreas secretes insulin. Thyroid secretes thyroid-stimulating hormones. We get the pituitary glands, though. We have different material that comes out of the adrenal glands. A lot of our immune function has a lot to do with the way that our hormones operate as well, too. They are working inside us every second of every day, multiple millions upon billions of interactions within the trillions and trillions of cells that we actually exist with. And this communication system is actually a faster, like I was saying, faster communication system than your nervous system. It actually moves quicker than what you understand when it comes to the way we operate in life. And that's why our environment plays such a huge role in our own body health. So it's interesting because we mentioned, but does anybody have an idea as to what might be the very first hormone that we produce as an actual grouping of cells before we become even a fetus?
Maybe estrogen.
No. Not estrogen. It's a very interesting one. It's actually insulin. Insulin is not only a blood sugar regulatory hormone, but it's actually a growth hormone. We have what's called IGF, insulin growth factor. So it's a wonderful concept here that your body needs insulin in order for it to actually grow and for it to mature and for it to actually produce additional cells. Sex hormones come way, way after. We are going from the gamete stage over into the fetal stage. So it's unique because, again, obviously hormones are playing a part even when we're just a few cells big. That's one of these very beautiful ways. Before we have a nervous system, before we have a brain or a spinal column, notochords, all of those things, hormones are doing their job. They're actually being a part of that basic material transmitting information. So it's interesting because as we go through and understand, I love for people to know that hormones typically, in what I would call a healthy person, operate on cycles. So I mentioned melatonin and serotonin. They're probably my best example because while you're awake, you're actually using serotonin, and it's the thing that keeps the smile on your face as you go about your busy day. And you're burning serotonin as your body is storing or creating melatonin. And it's unique because this is the great relationship to have with your body that when the day is done, you're able to lay down and fall asleep. That's showing that you have adequate melatonin. And if you go through the entire sleep cycle, while you're sleeping, you're burning melatonin and you're creating serotonin. So the next day you wake up and everything's working all for you in a nice, beautiful cycle pattern. Controlled and programmed by the sun. It gives you 12 hours on, 12 hours off. And when you live in that cycle and you keep a very good balance, your body maintains really good health. It's interesting because we have a society nowadays that loves artificial light. We love to stay up till midnight or later. We like to think that our work is so important that it's okay to keep skipping out on our sleep and not getting our rest and recuperation. And what happens is we lose our hormone balance in order to maintain our good quality of life. So it's a really, really important understanding that our bodies go on to the programming here. So if you're a person who is highly irritable and having very a lot of trouble sleeping effectively, one of the easiest ways that we've discovered is going out and actually sleeping, living in a nature sort of setting with a 12-hour by the sun reprogramming occurring for at least a week. They're saying 7 days of actually waking up with the sun, going to sleep with the sun is a fantastic way of balancing serotonin and melatonin. So that would keep us away from any type of SSRI, serotonin selective reuptake inhibitors, or the MAOI inhibitors, all the different mood-altering antidepressant-style drugs. We just need to get back into balance, and our bodies will find a way to correct this cycle, this issue. So it's unique because we have food and water cycles that occur during the day. We wake up, And if you're a person typically in good health, you're probably drinking some water first off because you know you just dehydrated yourself during your last sleep cycle. Whether you're making trips to the restroom or not, just breathing at night for 8 hours or however long you're sleeping, you're expelling a lot of moisture. So we wake up and we drink some water. And then we wait till we get hungry or we give ourselves some time and then we eat our first meal. Hormones are working as you're doing every single bit of this operation. They're helping you digest. They're boosting your metabolism. They're telling you whether or not you're going to be stressed or if you're going to be calm. And it's unique because you'll go through a day cycle drinking water every hour or two on average, eating every 3 to 4 hours on average. And that cycle sets up an entire hormone program and pathway for your own body as well too. It's unique because one of the healthiest things that our society has lost is the concept of fasting. We don't fast. We never stop eating. So we are constantly programming our body, and again, that master hormone, insulin, to be produced every day, all day long, and it's no wonder our pancreases are blowing out and getting pancreatitis, eventually developing into pancreatic cancers, because it is working 24 hours a day, solid, because we never stop eating. And it's unique because that relationship of fasting 1 day a week even is actually a very beautiful relationship that most other cultures and religions actually have built into their society. Here we want fast food every single time we roll by a drive-thru. And the idea is that America has a definite issue understanding these food and water cycles that our body goes through. And again, this is all about the programming that we're telling ourselves. And we mentioned it before, but it is a huge application of understanding hormones, is that the stress that you put yourself through. Some people are the type of people who wake up slamming the snooze button, absolutely, breakneck speed, jumping up, hopping in the shower, running to their car, coffee and a bagel as fast as they can, living their day in such an excited rat race pace, and it's our bodies that feels the effects. It's our hormones that tell us, hey, this isn't healthy, this isn't safe. So our HPA axis, so the ability for our hormones to be produced by our thyroid, our pituitary gland, and our adrenal glands starts to get out of whack. No wonder we have cortisol overload and we have no ability to maintain metabolism. So we're seeing this relationship, again, being programmed by the way we live. The 1-minute meditation is meant to give you an opportunity, if that's the only chance you got this whole week, to just stop, breathe for a couple seconds, realize life can be done at a different pace, and then go about the rest of the evening. So it's a beautiful way for us to really get into an understanding that we are able to be in control of a lot of the different aspects of our body if we can understand and learn how to control our hormones. So there's a huge relationship here that we're trying to improve upon. And again, without the necessity of pharmaceuticals as much as possible. That's the key here. That's the big relationship we want people to kind of come through and understand. Of course.
I think something you said rings a bell with what they're saying in research now, that if you don't get enough sleep, you can gain weight easily.
Of course.
And that's because
if you're not turning your body and your brain off, you're technically producing cortisol at a much higher, longer rate throughout the entire day, and therefore not recharging serotonin. So if you're not recharging serotonin, positive attitude, happy mindset decreases the actual production and the utilization of cortisol, and so therefore that midsection belly fat starts to diminish and go away. So find happiness and you will find the perfect waist size that you are looking for. But again, happiness is a pursuit, not an end game destination. We're learning how to work with ourselves. We need to understand our own lives and how to better maintain them in an optimum health and wellness way. So it's unique because we are really trying to fight a big fight here, though, almost uphill battle with the way our environment, our foods, and even our water is actually treating us nowadays, because these are all become toxins in a way that actually stop the function of a lot of our hormones. So anybody here on page 3, we had that question as well too, about naming 3 hormone disruptors. Does anybody have a really good idea as to what might be a hormone disruptor?
The plastics.
Plastics, fantastic. Yeah, that's a good one.
Alcohol.
What's it?
Alcohol.
Yeah. But alcohol in excess, let's put it that way. A little bit of alcohol.
Pharmaceutical drugs.
Yeah, a lot of the different pharmaceutical drugs require hormone disruption to occur. Definitely there. Anybody else? Good answers?
Not sure, but it could be the spray can. We
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know what's in there.
Oh, yeah. Know the different types of chemtrail materials.
Aluminum,
all the heavy metals. That's definitely one of those things.
Radio waves.
Radio waves or the EMF pollution that we're dealing with as a huge population issue.
Yes.
And also, one of the things that I think people always put into the category as being beneficial, but it's definitely doing a number on our hormones, is antibiotics. They're tremendously disruptive to the intestinal microbe environment, and it's in our intestines that we actually produce 92 to 95% of all of our hormones. So a lot of people think, oh, my hormones are being produced in my thyroid gland, that must be where they're made. No, usually it's the thyroid gland that's actually a receiver of the hormone. So it gives me a great opportunity to kind of do a little bit of a demonstration here. So the unique thing is that hormones, in a discussion sense, is one that I want people to understand how they work a little bit better. So we're going to use the quote-unquote shape of this box. So this is a nice rectangular box that holds a tripod over here. The concept for us to understand is that all hormones are actually specifically designed and sized in order for them to do their particular function on the outside of our cells. So it's unique because insulin is an actual hormone that when it comes in contact with the right receptor site of a cell and the receptor site grabs a hold, it sends a signal to the inside of your cell. Either A, I need energy, give me some glucagon, or B, hey, energy's coming in, get ready to receive some sugar and take it out of the bloodstream.
kind of like an ant.
So kind of, well, yeah, in a way, but the idea is that cell membrane actually has all this intelligence wrapped into it. It has thousands of little receptor sites for every single style of hormone that we have in order to get communication lines in between those two different areas. So whenever a hormone is actually disrupted, meaning something happens that causes the size of this, so imagine that this should be in a nice tube structure here with a square end, all of a sudden tries to come into the same receptor site in a flat zone, well, that's not going to work. Well, that's plastic or that's heavy metals coming in contact with a receptor site and creating a condition to where now that doesn't work. Sometimes these toxins get to the point to where they actually bind and lock into a receptor site to where you no longer have functionality in that particular area until that cell decides to die. So that's one of the major damaging effects of things like mercury even and aluminum, is they get into and they block the actual receptor site. A lot of our xenoestrogens, so birth control tablets, the things that are found inside of tap water. There are different xenoestrogens that actually come in. Plastics is another style of xenoestrogen, and it hits the receptor site for your naturally produced estrogen and makes it to where you can no longer receive the information you need to in order to how to function inside that cell. So it's one of these places to understand each cell, 52 or so trillion of those cells inside your body, all receiving hormone-related information every single second of the day in order for them to function properly. So whenever they start to have dysfunction occurring, that's where we see a lot of major issues occurring. And that's where we get into a beautiful concept, is that the environment is giving us all of these material. It's just our bodies and our duty for our own health and benefit to start to learn how to properly detox these materials away from our system and how to prevent them from coming back in very large concentration once we've gone through a detoxification. So heavy metals is one of these to where we see a lot of people being exposed to everything from aluminum, mercury, cadmium, nickel, lead, barium, just a whole suite of different types of heavy metals. And they're in foods, they're in the water, they're in the air, they're surrounding us in different products, different types of paints. Again, it's one of these things where we try to limit heavy metal toxicity as much as possible. And there are ways of reducing heavy metals once you find out that you have them. It's unique because most people suffering from any type of body dysfunction very rarely goes and gets a hair follicle analysis in order to understand if they're carrying around a very large amount of heavy metal toxicity. It's one of the fastest and easiest ways of understanding if you have heavy metal poisoning in your body, is for them to actually do a signature off of the oils that are produced onto your hair. So hair follicle analysis will give us a really good way of understanding if you're suffering from any type of heavy metal issues. Antibiotic use is one of those to where it was supposedly the greatest medical invention of the early turn of the century, and the fact that we could actually stop infectious disease and be able to treat people who normally would be left in order for the environment to let them succumb to really silly kind of things like staph infection, a material that, again, the very common flus even. We found that antibiotics helped us, and they became our greatest crutch to actually try to become healthier as a population. And yet now we're suffering from overuse of antibiotic, and it's causing a major level of disruption inside our gut systems. So the word antibiotic means against or without life. It's meant to kill things, and it actually does it in such a good way for the most part that it kills all the good parts of you along with maybe some of those bad ones. And it's unique because we've actually seen a few countries discover and find out that even 2 doses of antibiotic in your lifetime can sometimes do irreparable damage, to where there's no real way of rehabilitating your body back in any short duration. So we're talking sometimes from a use of antibiotic, it could be 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years of trying to rehabilitate the body back to a point of being in true health. So I know a lot of people get stuck with really heavy infections. They go on IV drip antibiotics for 6 months, 12 months out of a year. It is sometimes going to take them a decade or 2 to heal their bodies back from that experience. And again, it's great for life-saving techniques, and we would obviously want that over any kind of other issue. But the problem is that we need to understand how to fix and correct those if we're going to have hormone health come back into our bodies. With the advent of plastics, we thought we had honestly solved all of our problems, and honestly, we really did do a lot to promote the use of plastics and in our environment, in our homes, in our daily lives, to such a degree now to where we really do feel like we're just surrounded by plastic. It's plastic everything, everywhere we are. The problem is that most people don't understand plastics are made from combining a very large array of synthetic chemicals in order to create the actual matrix that develops into a plastic. So it's unique because these chemicals get into contact with our skin, they get in contact with our body fluids, and they actually start collecting and a lot of times not being able to be detoxed very effectively out of the human body. So when we're carrying them around, these plastics disrupt the use and the function of our hormones, and it's very, very difficult for us to actually pull them back out of the body. A lot of times we need to go in and start doing things like far infrared saunas. We need to be able to be constantly sweating and expressing any of the plastics we can move outside of the system, and just limiting our general exposure by going back to using stainless steel, copper, copper and glass in a lot of our cookware and a lot of the daily functions that we have for ourselves in our lives. So same thing. I love the fact that people are starting to understand that tap water, the idea of portable water, was a turn-of-the-century revolution. The idea that you could put water into a house that didn't have to be carried in by a bucket, it was the most amazing concept, and it probably is the main reason we were able to grow and have societal health really improve, because we were able to wash anything we wanted at any point in time we needed to, any time of the day. Tap water, on the other hand, all of a sudden started being toxified by putting things like sodium fluoride back inside of it, putting things like chlorine in there, and bromine. And so these compounds got into our water, and now we're suffering from the hormone disruption effects of taking in these particular compounds. Chlorine, fluorine, and bromine are 3 compounds that directly disrupt the ability for your thyroid to function. So it's very, very tough when we have this thyroid epidemic occurring in the last 30 years when we see the induction of this particular these chemicals inside our portable water drinking system. And it's something that it can't be filtered out very effectively. So a Brita pitcher does not do the job. Even a reverse osmosis system does not always do the job. You have to get a specialized filter for taking out what's called halofluorines, so an anti-fluoride filter. So a lot of people spend a lot of money getting these really expensive units to filter their water, and they still don't even get some of these major hormone disruptive compounds out of the tap water. And the thing that I love to work with the most as a health coach and very routinely come together with people is the idea that we can actually start to succumb to nutritional deficiencies. So we're going to talk here in a couple seconds about the idea of how we can actually undo. But nutritional deficiencies, I think, are what's creating, especially this last 20 years worth of hormone disruptive epidemics. And the problems that we see overall in our health is because we are not eating as healthy as what we did 100 years ago. So we are hurting as a population because we are no longer as nutrified as what we should be. So nutrient deficiencies has become a huge, huge issue because we thought we were getting enough from just fruits and vegetables, and that's all we needed to do, and we'd be perfectly taken care of. So we definitely have to learn a little bit more about our bodies and the way that nutrition plays a huge part in hormone health. So, and I know someone mentioned it, but it's very true. We are in the Wi-Fi generation. We are in the Wi-Fi era, and we are even today right here sitting down, surrounded by electronics, and the things that they do to our bodies is pretty damaging. These devices are emitting a frequency, and the receptor sites on our cells are subject to frequencies. They actually do vibrate, and they do move in a way that when you expose them to high levels of what's called electromagnetic frequencies, EMF pollution, it can disrupt the ability for your body to actually function. So for a lot of people who sleep next to an iPhone, and that's the only way they know how to go to sleep is with that soft white glow that comes off the screen, the idea is they're really disrupting a lot of their brain neurotransmitters and the hormones that need to be produced by their body while they're sleeping. So it becomes, one of these where we have big screen TVs 15 feet away from our bed, and it's right there for us, so we can watch whatever we want on the 685 channels that they gave you for the introductory price of $39.95. But it's causing a lot of major issues inside our bodies. So we need to understand this. We have a lot of environmental exposures that are creating most of our hormone disruptions. Yes?
So are you saying that we should stand on the earth and that helps center our body again?
Grounding is a fantastic way of depleting the effects of EMF
just
radiation.
Standing on the ground?
Just standing on the ground.
Do that every day.
Mm-hmm.
Bare feet.
Bare feet helps. Through socks is fine. So if you just, if all you can do, and even if you're in contact with concrete, as long as there isn't plastic in between or a plastic seal on your concrete, you can absorb material through the concrete. So you don't have that. Literally, it's seconds. The moment you come in contact, just like if you flip a light switch, that's the same situation you're at, is that grounding and getting yourself in contact. Now, I'm not going to preclude you from the idea of going out and sitting in a park and being next to a tree on a rock and enjoying life and breathing for 15, 20 minutes a day and getting a really good, reconnection and contact with the earth. But grounding is the easiest way, I would say, to prevent a lot of that EMF damage from occurring to the body. They have a lot of other devices and a lot of different power emitters, and even if you don't feel like walking outside barefoot is the safest or best thing for yourself, they have the ability of doing a grounding sheet that you actually just put at the foot of your bed, and as you're sleeping, your feet are in contact with the grounding sheet, and you can actually absorb all the negative electrons throughout the night while you're sleeping, as long as you're not a person who kicks the covers off too heavily. So that
But what if
happen.
you put your hand on the ground?
Same thing.
Oh.
You are a conductive material. That's the beauty of you. You are nothing but a conductor, and you actually will transmit energy very, very effectively. Very effectively. So you have cycles. It's good to learn how to control those cycles of your body. We've got a lot of things that are attacking our bodies, a lot of environmental issues that are coming in and causing disruptions that we need to learn how to work on and how to get to mitigate those as much as possible. And then it's also, I think, the most important part here, the reason that Raw Relations really does what it does at providing all of these great compounds is to be able to get people to eliminate nutritional deficiencies. Get yourself back onto a whole food style diet. And we're so lucky to be in a world right now that we have the ability to transport material from all countries, all areas of this earth, in order to actually bring it to one location and be able to find different superfoods for actually solving human problems. So that's where we can see natural medicine, alternative healthcare, and wellness really taking to liking for a lot of people, because the healthcare system is extremely expensive and not really that good at solving problems. Really good at persisting problems, but it's one of those where we really want to find solutions. So that's the big way that myself as a health coach loves to work with individuals, is trying to find what set of solution items might help you get through a particular issue, especially as we're going to talk about these, the hormone ones. So what I would call key mineral for hormone function is actually going to be iodine. The reason I say iodine is because iodine is a direct mineral that's in control in the operation of your thyroid gland. So when you have an iodine deficiency, you actually very typically have thyroid dysfunction. So, and the way to understand that this thyroid gland, as much as they don't give it the credit that it's due, it literally is the interpretive CPU box inside your body for actually receiving information from your entire blood system. Every 17 minutes, the entire volume of blood in your body passes through the thyroid gland, and it's receiving all of the signatures about how tired you are, how much sugar you just ate, how upset you might be right now in terms of your stress level, and it's trying to control the difference between the organelles of the brain and all the different compounds that are produced here, all the hormones that are produced by the pituitary gland, the pineal gland, the amygdala, the hippocampus, the cerebellum, and all of the visceral organs, because, again, hormones are made here and used everywhere else. So the visceral organs, the liver, the pancreas, the spleen, the kidneys, all of these control the way your body is operating, and it's the thyroid gland that sends the signals back and forth and keeps your body in good operation. So iodine is absolutely essential when it comes to good hormone health. It's just tough because we have a lot of people who are experiencing their second, third, or sometimes even greater generation away from having good solutes or good serum iodine levels. So we end up seeing things like a concept called Hashimoto's disease. So we have multiple generations receiving not enough iodine, so much so that now their body almost becomes allergic to their thyroid gland or to iodine as a whole, because it creates function back inside the body. So it's interesting, because if I look at it like an allergy, as soon as you eliminate the deficiency, the idea is your body should learn how to process itself much more effectively. But you've got to learn you have to relearn the body on how to actually process the iodine. And sometimes that means you need to use things like selenium, magnesium, vitamin D, and a few other compounds that we talk about in our 5 Essentials class in order to help that thyroid gland heal in its true potential. Again, it's one of those where iodine is a controlling material for your metabolism, for your general energy, for your blood pressure control, for your thermal control, all of these hormone issues we have in terms of our sex characteristic hormones. All of these relationships hinge on the actual thyroid being a good function. So the camu berry is one of these that actually does a fantastic job at boosting vitamin C. And when you're getting good vitamin C, you're also boosting serotonin. So if you're a person who's finding yourself under a very common depressive state and actually feeling very low energy, low motivation, there's some other issues in there. Again, probably going back to the thyroid, but the vitamin C will actually start boosting your body's ability to produce serotonin and allow for your antioxidant levels to rise, and therefore your blood becomes lighter and less gelatinous and better flowing and more oxygen containing. So with better serotonin, you'll have improved mood. So Camu becomes this really, really great vitamin C source that not only helps our immune system, but also improves our hormone function, especially in the case for serotonin. So goji berries, one of these very amazing superfood berries out of China.
Goji berry tree.
Yep, goji berry trees. One of the only plant-based and one of the only non-synthetic forms of HGH. And HGH is a hormone that stands for human growth hormone, and it's our vitality hormone. So goji berries actually give us HGH, and they allow for us to eat better levels of HGH back in our body. So this is truthfully the fountain of youth that we're looking for. The better our levels of HGH, the better our cellular health and vitality will maintain through its long life. So we have the wonderful Spring Dragon tea that actually has the goji berries in there, and we snack on goji berries, and we have goji berry powder, and we love the fact that we can actually use this food to boost a hormone level that we're told just depletes with age, and that's the way life is. Well, again, other countries that have access to better natural healing foods, they don't believe in that. That's not the way they live. They go to 110, 120, 130, no issues, no problems. Life is very full of vitality. They keep their health throughout their entire age of years. And that's what we need to start understanding we could do for ourselves here. MSM is a compound. It stands for methylsulfonylmethane, and it's very important for liver function. And again, the liver is one of these main digestive organs that's actually filtering our blood and producing our enzymes. So if you're a person who's suffering from a lot of very heavy intestinal distress, a lot of times it hinges on the functionality of your liver and if it's producing enzymes or not. So a lot of people can supplement enzymes, and you can get enzymes in different types of capsules and actually take enzymes with your food. But usually what that means is that's pointing to a liver deficiency, and compounds like MSM do a fantastic job of boosting your ability for your liver to go back to function. So this is one of these great relationships you can have for improving your overall health, because not only is MSM for anti-inflammatory, but it also helps activate your liver. So again, that blood filtration will help start to allow for better hormone function, less body stress, less inflammation, and overall just fantastic digestion. So it's unique in understanding some of these other herbal sort of operations. One I love for people to understand the relationship with is the pearl, believe it or not, the actual tiny little jewel that we pull out of oysters. The compounds in that are actually really good for overall hormone balance, and they do a great job at grounding you naturally, even if you're not in contact with the earth all the time like we should be. So it's unique because there's a lot of fantastic mineralization and a lot of trace elements and trace minerals found inside the layers of pearl as they're being washed around inside the oyster that you can actually take in the ground form and use it as a very wonderful herbal treatment for anybody who has, especially a lot of anxiety, a lot of sleeplessness, insomnia, those types of issues on a routine basis. Pearl is a fantastic way of just eliminating. So it's really good for getting you back into a restful state, a very peaceful state. So we love to see different types of herbal compounds like that that allow for it. And when I'm saying herbal, I also love talking about things like teas, like Palearco. Palearco tea is one of these fantastic teas that comes from the bark of a South American tree. And Palearco does this fantastic thing for our bodies by reducing mold, funguses, and especially candida overgrowth, which is a huge disruptor for a lot of our body's ability to produce good energy. When we're not living in good harmony with our gut system or with our skin, if we're having irritation, any kind of joint inflammation, we're seeing a lot of times candida be a little bit of a compound overgrowing inside our bodies and creating a lot of energy disruption. So Palearco tea becomes this fantastic way of being in control. And if you've ever met somebody who's had mold infection in their life, it's very unique because their entire energy system completely switches whenever you go to mold energy versus the way we should be in terms of bacterial probiotic inhabited body. So we get exposed to mold all the time nowadays because of our foods, our houses, different sort of areas in our environment, and mold is something we have to really watch out for.
Yeah, I've heard by Doug Kaufman on the show.
Yeah.
About fungus or the fungicides, you know, from weed or whatever, and it's a real problem. It mimics like cancer and all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah.
That tea would, you know.
That helps be a natural protectant
To get rid of it.
Instead of it being something that actually, to where you're not having to worry about any kind of mold overgrowth.
Now, I had ringworm.
Ringworm?
A couple.
A little different.
Ringworm,
ringworm can be treated better by using things like oregano oil, rosemary, essential oils.
I use tea tree.
Yeah, tea
and
tree.
it went away.
And it goes away.
But I was wondering if I had an overgrowth inside of me, and that's why it was appearing on the skin.
Exactly. And that usually is the way it goes. You're seeing the right symptoms and the signatures on the skin for saying that there's something not off inside the body. And that's very, very common. So that skin infection is definitely one of those where it's giving you the right information.
I drink that tea then?
I would definitely be drinking that tea. We're getting right into the season where obviously it's going to get wet, it's going to get cold. Molds love to grow. That's what they do during this time. So brew some warm tea, enjoy that. It's a very good flavor.
How do we don't eat pearls.
Yeah. Of course. Inside our Serenity blend is a pearl powder. And so this just goes into tea, and you just consume that, and it becomes a part of your body, gives you the minerals, and allows for a really good grounding effect. So if your person, the way that I always love talking to individuals is that if they find themselves a little, feeling like they're actually about 2 feet taller than their actual body, meaning they're anxious, they're always jittery, they can't quite calm themselves down and just go with that sort of Southern California flow. The idea is that a lot of times you need this grounding effect to help bring you out of that hyper, big head, high anxiety concept. But yeah, you really do eat the pearl. And that's one of the best things for it. Like I say, it does nothing for you on your neck or on an earring. I mean, it looks nice, sure, but it's not actually functioning the way we'd like for it to actually help you in the body. Like I mentioned before, one of the big things to understand about hormone health and balance is detoxification. Last week we were able to bring up the concept of doing this autumn detox. It will be starting here this week. And so there's a lot of fantastic ways of understanding how to change the way the body is operating and knowing how to time your detoxification to work with the environment and your body and going through this process. But most of our hormone issues are created because we are full of certain types of toxins. Those ones that we mentioned, they all disrupt hormones. They all get in the way of that interaction on our cell membrane, and our cells don't function the way they're supposed to. So we definitely want to understand detoxification and know that that doesn't just mean going out and drinking a week's worth of green juice and thinking, aha, I've done it, I've solved my problems, that's it, I don't need to do anything more. There's a lot more to the understanding of detoxification and working in a way that actually is beneficial to your health, instead of sometimes damaging and causing lots more disruptions to the body in the later effects. So I've got a couple more minutes to wrap up the actual talk and to get all this information out for everybody here, and then we'll do some questions if anybody has any particular questions, and we'll go from there. So the big takeaway from tonight is, like I said in the beginning, you are actually in control of a lot of this. I'm not saying go out and quit your job. Definitely not saying get rid of a significant other who makes your life so much better for you. You could never do anything without them. But there are ways of controlling your life and the way that you're interacting with your environment. It's so simple. We're going to learn at the end of this month about the anti-nutrients that are around us. The idea is you can control the food that comes into your body and into your family and into your home. And if you control your food, it's not so much that you are what you eat, it's that you feel like how you eat. So a unique relationship of understanding here is that if you have a junk food lifestyle, you're probably going to have junk energy and junk brain power and junk metabolism, and that's the relationship, is you feel like how you eat. Whereas if you're eating clean and full of good minerals and an organic, very high rich diet of whole foods, that's how you'll feel. Very rich and nutrified and full of good energy, because that's what you were eating. So that's the relationship we really want to see in understanding this control system. It is a tough trick about getting away from pharmaceuticals. It's not the easiest game. Most of them are addictive. That's the whole concept in it. And a lot of times they came in to solve a problem. They should have only been used temporarily, and yet you just kind of kept taking them. I know people who their doctor just said, oh, in the early 70s, there's this new thing about thyroid balance, and they just started taking thyroid meds with no diagnostics, no anything. They're just like, well, most people are dealing with thyroid problems. And they've gone 30 years of taking the same medication every day, never rechecking, never really understanding what's going on or how it's working. And that's where it's very unique to me. Like I say, most diabetics take a pill, if they're in that stage still, take a pill every day that actually gives them insulin from what to help them balance their quote-unquote sugar problem. Usually they're not diabetic, and by taking the pill, it actually shuts their pancreas down more. So they actually need the pill more than if they would have never taken it. And so this issue we find, I love pharmaceuticals for when they are functional, useful, and necessary. But they are not lifestyle managers. Again, it's funny how we have pills that supposedly make you less fat and more happy, and a lot of times the side effect is that you get very unhappy and more fat. So how interesting that we allow for a solution system to create a bigger problem, and we really want to understand how to reduce these. Most of the functionality of pharmaceuticals is based on some type of natural food or component, but they can't patent the natural food or component. So they have to create a pharmaceutical that's kind of like it and allow for it to partially solve the problem, and then they can put their name on it, their brand on it, and sell it back to you. But it's very interesting when we see things like aspirin is simply a compound that's extracted out of a tree called the white willow. And white willow bark tea is actually far more potent and powerful than any level of 100, 500, 1,000 milligrams of aspirin. And yet, no side effects. Again, what I found for myself is that it actually makes you feel really, really good. And again, all you do is drink tea, and you can feel the same effects as being anti-inflammatory as aspirin. Yeah, of course. I love it. No, not here. But no, it's a really, really good tea. Really good for reducing pain, for reducing inflammation. I'm huge about the idea of, again, pharmaceutical reduction and trying to start separating at least a portion or part of our lives away from our electronics. I know that they're amazing, they're wonderful, I probably wouldn't know what to do without them, they help me in so many ways, but I don't go to sleep next to them. I try to limit them away from my, from my environment. I try to make sure that I'm mitigating as much as possible. Most large-scale electronics, and believe it or not, an iPhone is now considered a large-scale electronic because of the amount of frequencies that it's putting out, need to be 25 to 35 feet away from your body while sleeping. That's their effective zone. They actually can have it 25 feet. So it is very...
walls.
They can actually go through thin drywall, double drywall walls. They actually can be felt, and they can be effective. Again, I'm not saying everybody needs to build a Faraday cage and wrap themselves inside copper in order to be protected, but actually it's not a bad idea, truthfully. There's a ton of issue, and anything you can do to mitigate that, you're going to feel healthier because of it. So, and we are so loving the concept here. Raw Revelation has built a beautiful product line based on the idea that natural foods can help you solve problems. So if you are looking to improve your diet in the simplest ways sometimes, cut out the cans, cut out the bags, cut out stuff that has a 2 to 5 year shelf life, it's probably not good for you. Things that you eat are supposed to break down. That's the importance of them. Again, I don't know exactly what the longest running is, but I think we're getting close to somewhere about 14 or 15 years on a McDonald's value meal that's been left sitting out in the open and not breaking down for 14 to 15 years. So understand that type of food is not food anymore when it doesn't do that. It's plastic. It's not good for you. So going back to natural foods, getting yourself away from a lot of these sugar addictions, soda addictions, those types of things, they definitely have an effect on your body. Yes, we mentioned alcohol before. The reason I was hesitant is because I don't want to stop people from drinking good red wine. I mean, there's actually some benefit to it. A lot of it, not a good idea. But the idea is that there can be some medicinal sort of levels of even things like tequila. I'm sorry, but in Mexico, eating whatever might be available, you don't know where it's come from, you don't know what the conditions were before it was cooked. A shot of tequila keeps your stomach clean. That's the whole beautiful part about tequila. But 4 or 5 more of those, and you're not going to remember too much. That's the problem. So we really want people to understand. However, tobacco smoke, again, really big thing. That's a tremendous issue about even pot smoking and things like that. The different things that they put on these crops, these materials, you just don't know what you're getting into. Even with organic, labeling and all of this that's out there, farming and gardening is still the best way to know for sure when you're eating the food you're eating. Hey, that didn't have any of these heavy chemicals put on it. So we really want to just try to focus on our own health and our wellness, even small steps, one at a time. That's going to be the way we actually see big change occurring for ourselves in the future. So that is that. But I would love for anybody who has particular questions, things that go on for themselves, if you have something that you would like. One of the things I would like to point out before we kind of break away into individual discussions, I have included here, for anybody who's interested in, a symptoms checklist that allows for us to see where you might be benefited by actually doing specified testing for your own blood levels on different compounds. So it's a little quick kind of 1, 2, 3, 4 category checklist here for anybody who's here. They can fill this out, and if they want to drop me an email, schedule an office visit, come in and discuss and figure out what we can maybe do to start understanding a lot of the nutritional deficiencies. One of the things that I definitely see as a major issue out there is the standard CBC, or the blood test that they do for the annual person during their physical, is really only there to help them diagnose and give you more pharmaceuticals. It doesn't actually tell you a lot about how your body is working, meaning the nutritional aspects of things. It's funny how they would give a person thyroid medicine and yet never test their serum iodine level to find out if they're deficient. And that's the easiest relationship of understanding low-functioning thyroid, low iodine level. Well, let's boost iodine levels and see if we can get the thyroid back up and running, instead of the idea of going on a hormone replacement therapy system. So this checklist can help see a few things that you might want to talk about, and feel free to send me an email or schedule to where we might be able to get together. Again, one of the great ways of contacting me when you're online and checking out this video through YouTube or anytime after this Thursday is to send me an email at joseph@rrsuperfoods.com. And you can find me anywhere on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook at the Brilliance Nutrition, or if it's Twitter, it's at Brilliance and then N-U-T-R-I. So I couldn't spell nutrition all the way out, but that gives you the ability to find me at Brilliance Nutri. But it's a great thing for us to come here each week, learn a little bit, discover some things. I hope this was a very educational and very, inspiring talk. But if you have any of your own questions, we'll leave the cameras running for a few minutes. If you're looking to pick up any products tonight at the 10% discount here at Raw Revelations, feel free to go ahead and get up and grab those, and at least put them on the counter for Ian to be able to check you out and be able to move that along as quickly as possible. But I will take anybody's personal questions they might have, and I thank you very much for coming this evening. Yes?
While I'm detoxing, can I have different teas or things like that, or just have water and that?
Oh, no. While you're detoxing, yeah, you could be doing Pau d'Arco. You could be doing, you could be taking in a really good, chunk of Piedra for any of that extra calcium you might have on you. You could be doing hibiscus in case you've got any kind of blood pressure, just kind of modify. Ed lives with you, so so hibiscus tea and Ed kind of balance each other. The only thing I would say is try to not be using any sort of laxative herbal teas, dandelion root, anything like that in an excess. That's going to create a little too much flushing. So we're not to that stage yet. So the idea is you can be doing good herbal teas, things you enjoy, chamomile, peppermint, rose. Those are just fantastic herbal teas regardless, whatever you might be enjoying. Yep. No. No.
He drinks with, I don't not drink with tea.
You're gonna make me take you out behind the woodshed, aren't you, Ed?
Doing my job.
No, Lipton tea is one of these things you got to understand. Like they wrestle up the stuff that just isn't good enough to go in anywhere else, and that's what they chop up and throw it in the tea bag in order to. No. If nothing else, product promo. Be drinking Spring Dragon. No, the tea of longevity here. No, Gynostema, fantastic way of getting a better tea, non-caffeinated, that actually has things like goji berry, schizandra, euthro, or ginseng in there for just an overall good energy balancer. You can drink it during the morning. You can drink it at night. You can make your shakes and smoothies out of it. But no, be drinking healthy teas. The whole concept here is to show up and be drinking healthy teas. Any other questions? Well, I want to make sure. So, did everyone learn at least name one endocrine gland of the body? Everyone learn one of their glands?
A gland?
A gland.
A gland.
Name a gland.
A gland.
Don't want to name a gland?
Gland.
That's part of the immune system. That's not. It is technically a part of the hormone system, but. I mentioned like four of them.
You said thyroid.
Thyroid's a good gland. Yep. Adrenal glands, pituitary glands, pineal gland. All of those really good. Like I say, thyroid, parathyroid, very, very important pieces. One of the things that is a discussion we're going to have, I think, a month from now, is the fact that so many people think that it's okay just to have certain things chopped out of your body like it's no big deal, and not understanding that they perform a tremendous function in the body, and it's one of those very tricky parts that I can do a lot to actually help bring and revitalize a person back from even what they would consider to be the worst quote-unquote level of operation of a gland or of an organ that's connected. Once it's not connected, I can't really do much with it anymore. So the idea is give yourself a fighting chance. Think of the options. Get a health coach. Get somebody to spend some time with you, really focusing on your health and nutrition and seeing how we can actually improve the overall quality of your life. So it's a very, very wonderful relationship to get back into understanding here. Because like I say, an hour per week in a year, you probably learn a lot. Focused in the idea of actually being inside a program, you can actually learn a tremendous level more about your particular issues and maybe not all the other basic information and things like that aren't specific to you. So it definitely becomes a really good relationship tool to where you can see how to improve your health. I thank you for joining us on Periscope and on Ustream. If you're catching this on YouTube, again, you can contact me at joseph@rrsuperfoods.com. You can find the website at rawrevelations.com. I look forward to hearing your comments, questions, anything you might have for me, and make sure you stay well.
Thank you, Joseph.